Well, that was much, much better. It has to be said. Manchester United's second game of pre-season, their first of the summer series in America against West Ham. I've just finished watching it, I recorded it, and I've watched it this morning, and I'm really, really impressed with what I've seen from Manchester United in this pre-season game. Look, this was far from perfect, but considering I sat here just a few days ago at the end of the Leeds game saying I saw no signs of improvement, today, I did see some real signs of improvement. There are a lot of positives that we can take from this game. Firstly, the shape and the fluidity looks like it's coming together so much better. The link-up play between Mainu, Bruno, Cunha, Ugarte, Ahmad at times, and especially Dorgu on the left-hand side. Really, really impressed. Their movement, their interchangeability. You think how static we were last year with Garnacho stuck out on the left-hand side and the striker stuck up front and Ahmad or Bruno stuck on the right and the two players in midfield. It works so much better. You could see the patterns of play starting to come together. Bruno dropping in, Mainu pushing forward, Cunha pulling one side, Højlund dropping in short, Cunha then going round to the other side, Dorgu on the overlap. There were so many patterns of play that were starting to come together. It didn't feel like a static 3-4-3 formation. The centre-backs helped with that as well. And what I mean is the outside centre-backs. Yoro pushing up into midfield. Heaven pushing up into midfield. You can tell Amran is desperate to have that balance of a left footer on the left-hand side and a right footer on the right-hand side because it allows that progression of play. It allows someone like Yoro or Heaven to get the ball in those positions and then play switches of play for the overlapping runs from the wing backs. And like I say, the dropping in of Cunha, the dropping in of Fernandes, and the understanding between the players to then have Ugarte and Mainu potentially push beyond. So all of that came together really, really nicely. And also the pressing. We were so much more on the front foot. I have to give credit to West Ham because this did have the feel of a genuine Premiership game. Certainly for the first half, maybe through to around 55 minutes or so, it felt like an actual Premier League game. The match started like an absolute house on fire. West Ham came at us, we won the ball back, ball in behind to Højlund, and he hits the post inside a minute, and the whole game exploded into life immediately. So I've got to give credit to West Ham as well for making it feel like a genuinely competitive game. Certainly for the first half of the match, it did feel a bit more like a friendly in the second half. But real good early signs of positivity from Manchester United. My only real concern in the first half is all of that good work didn't actually lead to anything. I know people are going to say, well, hang on a minute, didn't you score? Weren't you 1-0 up at half-time? That was nothing to do with how we were playing. That was an absolute defensive disaster class from West Ham. It was a poor free kick from Bruno. Todibo doesn't head it anywhere safe. Areola comes out, catches it, drops it on Diouf's head. It drops to Heaven. Areola tries to compensate and rugby tackles Heaven to the floor. It's a penalty. Manchester United score it. Bruno Fernandes scores it. And we go 1-0 up. And then we play really well for the rest of that first half, but don't actually still really cause Areola any problems. And that's sort of my first negative of the day. Despite how well we were playing, it still never actually amounted to anything. Into the second half, it did amount to something. The press, again, which I said, I think we were so happy with the press. How many times last year did I used to moan about the Bruno press, where he would charge down and no one else would go with him? Today, Højlund was pressing, Bruno was pressing, Cunha was pressing, Dorgu was pressing, Mainu was pressing, Ahmad was pressing, Ugarte was pressing. And then obviously, again, the centre-backs were helping in that as well. There was a full team shape push when we went to press, and because of it, we nicked the ball back. Mainu gets it off the midfield. Well, it's a direct interception from Areola, but he stops Fulcrum getting it, lays it off to Bruno. Bruno with the brilliance and the awareness to see where Areola steps, dinks it over him into the far corner. 2-0 Manchester United. Really, really good. Really, really happy. Now I have to get to the genuine negatives from that team's performance in the match. Firstly, again, Rasmus Højlund. I have been defending him beyond belief over the last couple of seasons, but today, in a game where I think the team played really well, I think he was noticeably poor. And what I mean by that is he actually had his opportunity today. I spoke about the chance within a minute, ball in behind, brilliant pace. He ripped Kilman apart. Burst through, he's one-on-one, he hits the post. You can argue he's unlucky, but actually from that position, he really should have been finding the net. A few minutes later, got into creative space, give and go with, I think it was either Ahmad or Cunha on the right-hand side, gets it back, he's in a position to shoot, and not only does he sky it, he slices it as well. It goes high, wide, and not at all handsome as the old commentary line is. And then from there, it was just, again, he couldn't get in the game. And again, I think the service, particularly into him, wasn't very good. I spoke about how good the link-up play was between the midfielders, but actually the balls into Højlund were not good. There were a few occasions Cunha overhit passes, Bruno overhit passes. Euro played a few down the channel that just never really got to him. And he ended up only ever really receiving the ball in areas where he couldn't really be effective. So again, I do worry for Højlund at Manchester United because they don't seem to know how to get the most out of him. And with the players that we're now getting into those attacking areas, I think it's not going to be long before we start seeing a Xerxes in that position, or Cunha in that position, or Mbeumo in that position, because we have so many other players that can play in the number 10 position, and these are all players that can do a little bit more in that striker position in returns to hold-up play, link-up play, and obviously then putting the ball in the back of the net. Also, I don't like Ahmad at right wing-back. I just don't like it. He becomes a non-factor at times. That's why when I was speaking about the positives, about how well Dorgu was playing, so I thought Dorgu was outstanding again today, Ahmad just really wasn't a factor in the match. He's not comfortable playing in defence. He's not confident enough to know when to go all the way forward. He had literally had the ball in the back of the net, which was a really, really narrow offside. But other than that, he wasn't really in the game at all. I do fear for him in that right wing-back position. Again, we spoke about the Mbeumo and the Cunha situation. I do see a world where one of those players end up front, and then Ahmad ends up in that second row, especially when you've got players like Dalot and Mazraoui, who can also play in that right-back position. Finally, in terms of the negatives, the second team, shall we say, that we put out for the final 20 minutes did nothing. They did nothing. I think Amrin will be pretty disappointed with what he saw from the second string team in the second half of that second half, because honestly, there's literally nothing to comment on. No one did anything of note from that second string team other than Beindir, who played the entire match, and he made some good saves from Jarrod Bowen in that second half of the second half, shall we say. I did actually skip over the West Ham goal. That was the other negative. Real complacency. It was a pre-season friendly, so I might be able to let it slide, but a lot of complacency shown at 2-0 there. Midfield switched off. Souček easily got the ball in that midfield. Heaven, who I thought had a fantastic game, just pulled in a little bit too far, which allowed Bowen the space around the outside. Brilliant goal from Jarrod Bowen. Squared up Heaven. Heaven showed him onto his right foot, which is what you do when you're playing against a predominantly left-footed player. I can't knock Heaven's recovery and a brilliant finish from Bowen, but yeah, midfield absolutely switched off. One ball through that midfield, and that is the worry that we saw so many times over the last season. One ball through that two-man midfield, and we're in serious, serious trouble, and that happened again today. So that's what I mean. There's still a lot of room for improvement in terms of how that shape sort of comes together. But ultimately, it's resulted in a Manchester United win today. It's resulted in a really, really strong performance. And I think it's given the manager some real questions to ask, because I'm looking at this lineup today and I'm saying that Mainoo and Ugarte absolutely need to be starting the game against Arsenal. Their work ethic, their ball playing skills, their drive, their skill, everything about those two is exactly what you want from that two-man midfield. I know Casemiro's got those higher level defensive qualities and arguably has even more passing qualities than the pair of them. But in terms of the athleticism, the drive, the movement, the actual getting on the ball, the sharp turns and quick touches, we haven't got other players in the squad that can do that. And the pair of them today looked absolutely outstanding. That then bleeds into the two off the front, which was Cunha and Bruno Fernandes. Bruno looks so much more comfortable in that position. He should not be playing deep. So him and Cunha in those positions, I think they worked really, really nicely together. And like I keep going on about the link-up play between those two definitely need to be playing. So considering you've still got players to come into this squad, the likes of Xerxes, the likes of Mbeumo, the likes of Mazraoui, who didn't play today, to all come back into this side, really starts to give the manager some headaches as to what we're going to do for that final team. I think it'd be really interesting to see how we line up. I can definitely see a world where it's going to be Mbeumo, Bruno, Cunha as our front three, and I think that would work fantastically. But right now, the real takeaway from today's game for me is that Mainoo and Ugarte need to be our two-man midfield. They seem to be the most suited to it. Yes, we were playing against West Ham. Yes, we were playing against another team playing 5 at the back rather than the 4 at the back that we saw against Leeds, with a packed midfield where our midfield got overrun. And that's obviously what Arsenal end up doing to us. Big test for us on Wednesday against Bournemouth. They've just beat Everton 3-0. They're going to be coming into this. They're going to be playing 4 at the back. So that'll be a more realistic test, especially when you consider how poor we've been against Bournemouth over the last couple of seasons as well. So fingers crossed, this is a serious sign of improvement. I personally think that, like I say, the striker situation is still a little bit of a worry for me. There are still some chinks in that midfield potentially. Still don't like Ahmad at right wing back. But overall, a very, very positive performance from Manchester United. As always, let me know your thoughts down in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you very soon.